Hello and welcome to the Podquest of Bread. My name is Henry Conley. Tonight I want to talk about the 25th Amendment. And the reason I want to talk about the 25th is because it was reported that Nancy Pelosi tomorrow will be speaking about invoking the 25th and speaking about the 25th Amendment in relation to Donald Trump and his current condition. When this news first broke and when they first started talking about the 25th, I was instantaneously confused how they were even going to bring this about. And before I get to what they actually are planning to do, I just kind of want to walk through the 25th Amendment and what is required to make it work. So the 25th Amendment, the first thing to understand about it is this. The 25th Amendment literally requires presidential incapacitation. The president of the United States has to be incapacitated in some way that he cannot carry out the office of the presidency. Now, beyond that, if the president is not incapacitated, but the vice president of the United States, along with senior cabinet officials, decide that he is unfit to carry out the office of the presidency, they can also invoke the 25th. So there are 4 sections within the 25th Amendment. Each one pertains to a different possibility where the president is incapacitated. The only one that would be applicable right now would be Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, which I'll read right now, just to give a baseline understanding of this. Section 4 states, whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. The vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Thereafter, when the president transmits to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives his written declaration that no inability exists, he shall resume the powers and duties of his office unless the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers of the executive department or of such other body as Congress may by law provide transmit within 4 days to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office. Thereupon, Congress shall decide the issue, assembling within 48 hours for the purpose, if not in session. If Congress, within 21 days of receipt of the latter written declaration, or if Congress is not in session within 21 days after Congress is required to assemble, determines by 2/3 vote of both houses that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall continue to discharge the same as acting president. Otherwise, the president shall resume office, the powers and duties of his office. There's a lot to take in right there. There's a lot to digest. Again, essentially Section 4 requires that the vice president, along with the majority of the senior executive staff or Congress, have to agree that the president of the United States is incapacitated, that he's incapable. And when Nancy Pelosi said she was talking about bringing up the 25th, that was immediately what I went to. How is she going to get the vice president of the United States to agree that the president is incapable of handling the duties? How is she going to get a majority of his senior staff or a majority of Congress to agree with this? Remember, the Republicans hold the majority in the Senate, and even though the Democrats hold the majority in the House, there's a lot to be said right there. There is a lot that they are going against. And so, of course, there begins on Twitter the back end discussions on this, which is, well, maybe this is just Pence being the sleazeball that he is, wants power. He really wants that power, and he's whipped everyone that he needs to make this occur. Super highly unlikely, especially with how he was talking about the president last night during the debates. So upon doing some digging, it turns out that what really is going to be happening is Nancy Pelosi is going to be introducing a bill that will allow the Senate or the Congress to determine the fitness of the President of the United States to discharge his duties. A bill that will effectively set up another section of the 25th Amendment that will allow Congress to determine that the President of the United States is incapacitated or incapable of doing his duties. Before I get into what Nancy Pelosi said about the President of the United States, I want to talk about some potential downfalls I see on this. First off, on this podcast, with anything Donald Trump does or the House Democrats or even the Senate Democrats do, I generally talk about the precedent it sets. Because precedents in this time and during this presidency and this last 4 years of our government, they've been rather shocking. Some of the precedents that are being set by Donald Trump through using excessive executive orders, some of the precedents being set by the House and the Senate, they are disturbing. And they will be used by future presidents in order to carry out things that typically should have had a check and balance that stops them. And this is no different. Setting up a situation where Congress can determine the fitness of a president to serve sets up a precedent that could be potentially dangerous. The positives of this is this. The Vice President of the United States, unless they're very unhappy in their position, generally is going to support the president. They're generally going to support what the president does because that's why they were selected, because they are in affiliation with that president. They are in affiliation with the sitting president. They fall in lockstep. So the premise of the fourth section of the 25th Amendment, it's very unlikely that it would ever be enacted because it's very unlikely that the vice president will ever step out of line like that. Mike Pence, for as much of a sleazeball as he is, for as much of a coward as he is, and a home for flies, he's not going to step out of line with this president. Bluntly said, this president's doing everything he wants him to do. Mike Pence doesn't like immigrants. He's going for it right there. Mike Pence wants to get rid of abortion. Donald Trump's doing it. Mike Pence is just loving everything this president's doing. He will never do it. And I can say that likely, if Joe Biden wins, Kamala Harris would never do this. You can carry this into pretty much any situation. What scares me about this idea of possibly creating a new section of the 25th Amendment is that it can be used by enemies of the president. Enemies in quotation marks. If we get to a time of relative normalcy within the federal government, and by relative normalcy, I mean both sides pretending to hate each other, but actually loving each other because they're inflicting war upon other countries and selling out to their corporate interests, and we don't have a president tweeting crazy random stuff, this could be used potentially by detractors from this, the sitting president. We'll go with the Obama and Republicans example. When Obama was president, the Republicans in Senate and the Republicans in the House, they did not like him. They opposed him. They did everything they could to attack him, from doubting whether he was actually able to serve as president by, perpetuating the birther conspiracy, attacking him for wearing a tan suit. You name it, the list is pretty long. This could have been, if this existed, they could have used this to attempt to remove Obama from the office of the presidency. This sets up a dangerous situation. Now, let's talk about positives. If, for example, the progressive movement, the leftist movement of the United States actually started to take on a massive amount of power within Congress, well, this could actually set the precedent where we don't like the president because he's an oligarch. We don't like the president because he's sitting there and he's carrying out corporate interests and not caring for the people. Us progressives, socialists, leftists, that are in power in Congress enact this section of the 25th. We remove this president from office. Suddenly, the vice president sees this and realizes, oh shit, my job's on the line. These people can do it again. It could be used as a positive to enact positive change. But right now in this situation, here's my biggest fear about this. The president's already twisting this. His supporters are already twisting this. House Republicans and House senators are House Republicans and Senate Republicans are already saying that this is an attempt at a coup. They're already twisting this to be something far more dramatic and drastic than it is. And that's what's dangerous. Joe Biden is currently sitting in the polls pretty far ahead. And that should be something that they should be celebrating. House Democrats, Senate Democrats, they should be happy about this. It looks like more than likely Joe Biden is going to win the 2020 presidential election. Donald Trump's going to be a one-term president. Hopefully he ends up in jail. But this could shift things for the president, potentially. And it will take a lot for it to happen. But here's the thing. Donald Trump is already saying that, well, they tried the impeachment hoax and they failed. Now they're trying this. They're trying to take out your great leader, your president. I'm the only thing standing between them and your freedoms. Ugh, okay? You got his pundits everywhere. Oh my God, they're coming for the president again. Another hoax, another hoax. They are already twisting it. They've already called it a coup. They've already taken this to be something completely different. This is dangerous in this time with less than a month to go to the election. This cannot happen. Because what this can do is those people that were Trump supporters in 2016, who were logical thinkers, they might have been starting to go, I can't support this guy. I'm gonna bite the bullet. I'm gonna press that button for Biden just to try and rein in this thing again. Now they see this. Now they see a coup happening. Now they see suddenly something that scares them again. And next thing you know, they're back on the Trump train. They're back on his cult, and they're back to voting for him. Suddenly, what the last time I looked at 270 to win looks to be 318 electoral votes, and I believe it was 318 for Biden, 163 for Trump. Suddenly, that can flip, and it could be all because of something that gets twisted to be a coup. Now, I'm going to say this. Do I think Trump is fit to be president? No. Hell no. Fuck no. I don't know how many other ways I could say this. He is absolutely unfit to be the president of the United States. That was apparent from day one. That was apparent from the moment he declared his candidacy. Key Republicans said he couldn't be president, who have now flipped and supported him. Do I think that the president should have had the 25th Amendment invoked on him when he went to Walter Reed? Yes, he should have. He came down with a global pandemic. He came down with the virus that has caused a global pandemic. He was suffering from that, and he was experiencing symptoms. Do I believe that the president of the United States should have had the 25th Amendment invoked when he went on an experimental medicine that could alter his mental state? Yes. When he was put on steroids, which are known to alter mental states? Yes. Technically, right now, I think that for all intents and purposes, Mike Pence should be acting as president, because I don't think Trump is fit right now. He's acting erratically. He's acting out of character. And that's really odd to say about this president, but it's the truth. And when the nuclear football is always no more than 5 feet away from him, that's dangerous. So yes, the 25th Amendment should have been invoked, but it should not be being talked about by the people who have already been painted as bringing the impeachment hoax against him. You are now rebirthing the anger that was felt by his base during that. And that's where we fail. I will say, Nancy Pelosi did say some proper things that I agree with about Trump. On Thursday, Pelosi said that Trump appears to be in an altered state right now and told Bloomberg TV that there may be some impairment of judgment. I absolutely agree. Without a doubt, he is not acting right. He's acting very different from the typical Donald Trump, and that is not good. But again, that should be handled the proper way by determining that he's incapacitated, by maybe getting Mike Pence to realize that Trump is incapacitated, even using Mike Pence's urge and yearning for power to get him to do it. That's how you handle this. Don't set a precedent. Don't set a dangerous precedent. Don't create another section. Not now. Once normalcy has come, we can talk about this. Once normalcy comes back, and again, normalcy is Republicans and Democrats for the media fighting each other, and then behind closed doors kissing and hugging each other because, they're making the corporations that bought them richer and the oligarch is all happy. Once we do that, then we can talk about it, mainly because it helps us leftists achieve our end goals. Anyway, stay beautiful, humans.